Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Dr. Jason Richardson, who is the author of It's All BS, We're All Wrong, and You're All Right. Jason, welcome to the show.
We are all wrong, and yes, you are all right. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
Ready.
All right.
Ready and willing.
All righty. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Finish. I was thinking about that question because I've been asked that question before, but the bottom line is finish. It is very difficult to anticipate all of the hiccups. Even the ones that you do anticipate will be there, but the bottom line is finish the darn book. Then take what's learned from there and apply it to the next, if you're up and ready for the next one.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think learning to navigate the business and system of publishing. I think the other piece is a lot of authors go into it, or book writers, I should say. They're not necessarily the same, in my opinion. I consider myself a person who wrote a book. I'm not, by no means a Chaucer of sorts, or even a Stephen King. But I think it's, the expectations of the book, what you want that book to do and be, how much you want to make off of that book, or recognizing that you may not make much off of it, but it's a great platform for your business. And then two, just the system and navigating the publishing kind of business, especially, between brick and mortar, online outlets, ebook, whether or not you want to do an audio version of it. Will you read it? Will someone else read it? All of those things is quite a bit of on-taking.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
So the best thing that I can say that has worked well is I've been relatively consistent on all social platforms, or I shouldn't say all social platforms. The social platforms that have been already relevant in my coaching and speaking business. So that would be LinkedIn, that would be Instagram, and Facebook. So having been consistent on those platforms, by the time I was ready to launch this book, my customer base, the people who already know me, like me, mostly trust me, were somewhat seasoned. So they knew it was coming. I've been speaking on a lot of items or chapters or concepts of my book already. And then when I launched, not only was the publisher behind it, but it kind of, for lack of a better word, we thunderclapped it, so to speak. So on launch day, I didn't generate the first post. The publisher generated the first post, and then I did my best to take advantage of the Facebook algorithm. So the publisher posted it to her network. They were primed and ready to make the purchase. And then once that I noticed that had some traction, I boosted that post and then started sharing, and then all my followers started sharing this, that, and the other. And then also too, because I think people like to be part of something, I let people know privately, hey, I'm looking to hit number one. I think it'd be awesome if a book about mindset with stories about BMX. I have a big BMX following, as I was a professional BMX racer for 15 years, were to be number one. And then so I started to share how we were moving up the ranks. And even we did hit number one and stayed there for 4 days, which was awesome, in new releases. And I think that really helped keep it going because people wanted to be a part of that. And I kept getting messages all day. Oh, I just bought your book. Oh, I just shared it. Oh, I just bought your book for someone else. Those types of things. So really taking advantage of the I don't want to say guerrilla marketing tactic and the sphere of influence along with all the social channels. And like I said, I only boosted one post, which was on Facebook, but by then that original post already had some traction. So in my very rudimentary understanding of Facebook, if you do something like that, it will be the algorithms and the internet, the powers of the interwebs will look on you favorably when you boost something that's already has some traction that's been recommended by Facebook. So and then sure enough, it started showing up on other people's feeds.
Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
So I actually have several books that I like to, but I always seem to go back to two books. One is Seth Godin's The Dip. I think it's When to Quit and When to Stick, or When to Stick and When to Quit. And I love that he talks about, delving into actually when to actually stop something and when it's worth to keep going. So that's something that I didn't realize that I was coaching within my clients, but it just articulates it perfectly. So I always recommend my clients to get that. And then the other one is The Alchemist, which is just, it's a classic, and it's about a journey. And you can look at it as a hero's journey. You could look at it as a personal journey, but just the act of going on the journey and then finding, many of the answers within yourself, or realizing that you yourself are enough, I think is a very powerful message that I've resonated with me and obviously many other people since it's a classic. But oddly enough, I'm surprised at how many people have not read The Alchemist. So I always recommend people read that. And if you work with me, we definitely take a bit of a philosophical trip, as well as a very practical and applicable trip down the road to anyone's success.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Oh boy. So my favorite quote, there's several that my father have that resonate with me, but I'm going to go with one that I tend to have made up. But I even had it embroidered in one of my suit jackets, blazers. It's hard to pay now, it hurts to pay later. It's hard to pay now and it hurts to pay later. And that lesson goes with whether it's investing with money, that lesson goes with, doing your homework, whether you save it to the last minute, that lesson goes writing your book, and you have a deadline, work, but just basically it's about investing early and consistently. And yes, it is hard to pay now. But ultimately, you want to plant those seeds early on so that the fruit is there when you need it later on, as opposed to, scrounging and scraping when you may not have the time or the energy or as many resources, or you're pulled in different directions. So it's hard to pay now, it hurts to pay later. That's my favorite.
Well, Dr. J, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show today. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Okay, so if you go directly to my website, that's drjasonrichardson.com. That's drjasonrichardson.com. Or on Instagram, that's at Real Dr. J Rich. That's at RealDrJRich. So website, drjasonrichardson.com, or Instagram at Real Dr. J Rich. And then, of course, I have a Facebook, a Dr. Jason Richardson Facebook page as well.
Well, Dr. J, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.